And this is Spiritually Speaking, a podcast about the art and science of spiritual cultivation. So I'm here with Bryan Johnson. Bryan is known for his innovative production techniques and versatility. He was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and from a young age, he was captivated by music, influenced by a rich musical heritage of that particular land in both hip hop and R&B. He began experimenting with music production in his teen years, teaching himself how to use hardware to software, and eventually got his engineering certification at the Recording Institute of Detroit. This hands-on experience laid the groundwork for his future success, starting with his work with Eminem, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, Boyz II Men, and Kool and the Gang, just to name a few. Bryan's music has been featured on NBC, BET, TNT, HBO, ESPN, and MTV. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Oh, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Can you share with us your journey into music production and what initially drew you into this particular industry?
Okay, well, I have to say, I started at a very young age, probably about 9 years old, when I fell in love with music, basically listening to the radio station on Friday evenings. There would be a mixed DJ spinning like R&B and hip hop. I love the message to hip hop, a lot of the R&B songs, but I noticed I was more drawn to the instrumentation, like, the drum sounds, melodies. Over time, I realized that I had a gift to be able to tune in, to hear the music without actually listening to the lyrics to the song, and instruments stood out to me. Probably when I turned 11, I got my own equipment. I was blessed through my older brother inheriting some things and purchasing turntables, and eventually got his own drum machine. And I got to the point to where I had to sneak to use his equipment. Every once in a while, I get the opportunity to play music in front of him. He would look at me like, "Where'd that come from? Who did that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did that. I programmed that." And he's like, "Okay." Eventually, he let me do my thing with the equipment. And by the time I was 13, I worked with some industry musicians. Those musicians were very talented, and I realized, stepping my game up would be key to start taking this thing serious. So I ended up going to a recording institute to learn further theory and how equipment worked. And by the time I was 21, I was able to get to industry artists. So that's pretty much my snowball into the music industry.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talked, you had told me about your spiritual state, right? Because, we've been talking a lot about spirituality, and we have been talking about your spiritual state when you attracted these opportunities to work with some of the most successful artists on the planet. So what was it that was going on inside of you, spiritually speaking, during that particular time?
Well, to be honest, I didn't know what I was doing at a young age. I just knew that I was very excited and probably vibrating correctly and at a high level as something that I really wanted. Later on in life, I realized that was the law of attraction working in my favor.
Okay. So you were vibrating. So there was something that was positive that was happening inside of you
Mm-hmm.
that created an energy or an energy field
Correct.
that attracted others
Mm-hmm.
to you or you to them. How, was it both ways, or was it you to them, or was it them to you?
I think it was both ways. I had a dream before it really started, before I really getting involved with musicians and getting deep into music production. I knew it was something that I wanted to do. In that dream, I remember just being older, maybe in my early 20s, around successful people and artists, famous artists. And lo and behold, by the time I got into my early 20s, that I've experienced that backstage at a stadium, before a concert, inside of a green room. There were a lot of celebrities and famous people around. And, due to I'm there because of, music that I produce and the placements that I have partaked in. And I realized, wow, dreams come true. And if you're vibrating correctly and, you're in a positive state, you're in the right frequency, things will come to life.
Okay.
Hmm.
So what I'm hearing is there's some belief that there's an interconnection between music and spirituality.
Yes.
If I'm hearing you correctly. So what is for you, and how has it enhanced your spiritual journey, or vice versa? How has your spiritual journey enhanced your music?
Well, musically, I would have to say when you're creating the music, a lot of times people say, oh, I'm creating a vibe, or I got to get in the vibe,
Mm.
or you're actually getting into a trance when you're creating. And those ideas, I believe, are downloaded to you from the ethers, which, to me, it would be the spiritual world. So that's how I would connect the spiritual world and music creation.
Okay. So that's interesting because you mentioned trance. You mentioned these downloads. I know I get these downloads when I'm meditating,
Hmm.
and trance is very much similar to a meditative state.
Correct.
So can you describe what that might like look like or feel like when it happens in the context of you getting ideas from the spiritual realm?
Um, I like to say that no matter what you're doing, as long
Mm.
as you're extremely focused in on whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish or create, there are factors that come into play that may, give you those ideas that you need, which could be, downloads from sources. I mean, you have to be in that right frequency, right state of mind. And, that's how I believe it comes about.
Okay. So let's talk about the seasonality of purpose, right? So
Mhm.
there's times in our lives where our purpose may change,
Mhm.
right? I look at my career and I say, okay, when I was in the corporate world, I had high level of meaning and purpose that I derived both in the work that I did and at the place that I worked at. I really felt like I was contributing to something that was greater than myself.
Mhm.
And the same thing happened when I transitioned into the academic space and became a professor. And now my purpose is to educate, right? My purpose is to impart upon others not only the academic theory, but also my lived experience with that theory.
Mhm.
So if you look at your life and the purpose that you had over the last decade, how would you characterize your life in relationship to meaning and purpose?
Well, I believe the purpose that I was in at a younger age has changed a lot, since, I became a family man. A lot of my focuses have changed. Family is very important to me to be able to provide for my kids and my wife. And make sure everything is in order. So I would like to say that I'm not really that focused in on music like I used to be as a younger person. I'm living more of a purposeful life, just being a family man and focusing on that. But, I do know how important it is to get back to my dreams and continue doing the things that I love. It's just all about having the correct balance.
So let's talk a little bit about seeking and striving.
Okay.
Some of us go through life and it's all about seeking and striving for things, whether
Mhm.
it's money, property, prestige, right? Others go through life maybe seeking those things as well, but with more emphasis on being or becoming something.
Mhm.
So, how does seeking and striving kind of show up for you early on in your life in today's world? And how maybe do you see that being used in the future?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, seeking things would pretty much sound like, dreaming for, having opportunities and, dreaming to own something and working for it. That's what that sounds like to me. And I've experienced that in my past. I used to, I used to actually make sure I go and touch the things that, I wanted to experience in my life, whether if it was a new home, we're gonna go ride the neighborhoods and possibly go and visit or, somehow be able to tour some of these real estate properties that's for sale, or you might want to go to a dealership and, test drive your favorite vehicle. And by actually getting your hands on those items will give you that feeling of owning it and seeing what it's like to actually experience it firsthand. So the law of attraction will take place when you actually experience it in the physical. Believing that it's yours.
Mm.
For me, and doing the things that's necessary. You might have to figure out, things on the back in the background, like any type of financial aspects to be able to get these things in your life. That's how I've experienced seeking and striving.
So how might seeking and striving this yearning for achievement or for becoming or for even physical things, how might that show up in the future? I used to call it chasing,
Hmm.
but in the spiritual context, we call it seeking and striving.
Hmm.
But how might that show up for you, like moving forward? What is the image that you see of the future, and how might you start moving towards that?
Pretty much the same process. You have to create a plan, create that plan to make those steps. You create that plan and, you start with the baby steps to actually get to that goal. But I really do believe visualizing is important. Visualizing is important during meditation. You know, you have to be able to meditate on it, see yourself doing it by visualizing it in your head because your conscious doesn't really know if it's experiencing it in real life or, if it's just all it knows is, in the background, the universe is going to start doing the things necessary to actually make those things come to life.
And it's so true, and it is so spot on because oftentimes we have dreams where we see the image of whatever it is, the thing, the job, the career, what have you.
Hmm.
But if we don't like put ourselves in a position where we can feel the energy of that thing
Hmm.
in the present moment,
Right.
right? To your point, the universe can create it for us.
Correct.
It's that energy that we have as we realize having the thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is so spot on. Thank you for that.
Yes, indeed.
So here's my next question. Looking back at your experiences, what are some of the key lessons that you've learned, about success, meditation, spirituality? What can you share with us in terms of your life lessons and your life experiences?
Well, I learned that opportunities, come a dime a dozen, but, special opportunities are time sensitive. Those special opportunities really require preparation, focus, the right vibration, just being in the right place and ready to achieve that goal. And spiritually, I noticed that being happy and vibrating love will help attract the things that you want, help attract those opportunities and allow you to get to those opportunities a lot faster. You pretty much do all the work you can, get it, that idea and that opportunity as far as you can, and you release that and you move on to the next. And the universe will pretty much do the rest.
So, in other words, you got to be prepared
Hmm.
and you have to be aware when things are coming at you. You never know what it might be that's coming at you.
Correct.
And your vibration has to be on a positive
Yes.
frequency,
Hmm.
not a negative frequency.
Correct.
Because so often we miss opportunities because we're all caught up, right?
Mhm.
We're all caught up in somebody else's stuff,
Yeah.
some negativity.
Hmm.
We all have moments of negativity, but to have a day could be costly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be vital to whether that opportunity is going to be drawn to you or not.
Mm,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, Brian, let's talk about goals. For some of us, we have these career paths, and certainly I've had a couple of different career paths. I know that in your early age or early part of your life, you were called to music production. And sometimes we go back and we recapture those dreams and we continue to advance those dreams. Other times, we will find a new course or chart a new course towards a different dream.
Hmm.
Where are you at with your dreams in terms of the path forward?
Well, I'm still into music. I have created other opportunities and gotten to other endeavors, like trucking, started a trucking company and worked for a few companies to kind of learn the in and outs. But I could see myself in technology in the future. I could see myself doing, possibly some IT work or learning security. Technology has always been an interest. I'm always reading technology articles and things like that. So I'm excited for the future as well when it comes to that. So I could.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've also developed some expertise around blockchain and blockchain technologies, cryptocurrencies,
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature.
I know a little bit.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
think you might know a little bit more than. So I mean, what might that look like?
Blockchain is the future, and that's a big part of technology that I'm interested in as well. A lot of banks are going to be using this blockchain highway of technology. I encourage anybody to look into that.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So, Brian, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? Is there anything that you feel I may have missed in my question series that you want to talk about?
Not necessarily, you know. I just say, for those anybody who would like to chase a career of music production. It's a business. It's 90% business and 10% talent. It's very important to understand the different avenues and ways that you can be paid. And basically, hard work beats talent when talent ain't working hard. So, do your due diligence and put the work in.
Okay. And there you have it. Thank you, Bryan. Thank you for your time, sharing your experience with us. And we have a lot more of our stories to write,
Absolutely.
right? The journey continues. All right. Thanks for tuning in to Spiritually Speaking. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Spiritually Speaking with Dr. Kwaisi Asar. This concludes our thought-provoking discussion on topics related to spirituality. Stay connected to us by subscribing to this podcast and show your appreciation by sharing our message with others. Until next time, be kind to yourself and to each other.